There is no red, white, or blue in this country. The only color that matters is green because we live in the United Corporations of America. Two salutes. Jordan Chariton live. Status Coup. It is Tuesday, March the 25th, 2025, in our United Corporations of America. The times are tumultuous, and that's why we're happy to have co-pilot Steve Grumbine, co-founder of Real Progressives, host of Macro and Chill, Macro and Cheese, all things modern monetary theory and progress. The links to Real Progress in Action, Real Progressives, are in the description. It is your patriotic duty to subscribe ASAP to Real Progressives and Real Progress in Action. Are you having Macro and Chill tonight?
We are definitely. We had a great guest. The guy's name's Mike McCarthy, and I wrote a book called The Master's Tools. I'll show it to you because that's what I do. Nice guy, and it's a good show. Can't wait for y'all to join us.
So that'll be 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. We'll promote it later, let you know how to get in there. So, Steve, a lot going on. We skipped last week, so we have much to discuss. We are going to discuss the Bernie AOC Fight Oligarchy Tour because Steve's not buying it. Steve's not loving it. And he might, kind of be a Debbie Downer for some of you finally with hope. I think I agree with you on a lot, and we might debate on a few things. Then we're going to get into updates on President Trump and Emperor Musk and their collective machete or chainsaw to Social Security and now Medicare. Dr. Oz, remember him? He was, I guess, confirmed to be head of Medicare services. Well, let's just say he's taking his own chainsaw to Medicare. And this affects even people under 65, because if you want Social Security and Medicare, might not be there for you, or it might just be privatized and really shitty. So we'll get to that. And then, boy, all of this immigration craze, get rid of them, illegal. Well, the Republicans apparently, in their thirst and rush to deport every brown person known to man, didn't think like, who's going to replace these workers? So now their brilliant idea, piloted by Ron DeSantis in Florida, let's have 14-year-olds go back to work overnight. Let's just gut child labor laws so we could replace the immigrants we're deporting with kids. So we'll get to that. Smash the like button, share this live stream, get it out to everybody you can. Super chats are welcome, and we will shout you out as we go. All right. So Steve and I, we've been talking, Steve, for as long as you've been on, a couple of years, that, it's not either or. Nobody's saying, throw electoral politics totally out. Well, maybe you are. I'm not. But we are saying we need to actually kind of look at the last decade and say, hey, maybe we need to put more of our apples in organizing, in economic protest, not all our apples in one politician or one squad or whatnot. But right now, it is trying times, and even normie Democrats are looking for a fight. And a lot of people are being galvanized by these Bernie AOC Fight the Oligarchy rallies. Say what you want, whether you're loving it or hating it. It is pretty impressive to get, 35,000 people out in a non-election year. They had, I think, 35,000 in Denver, Colorado, 20-something thousand in Phoenix, a whole lot of people at the rally we covered in Nevada, in Las Vegas. But the question becomes, what does this accomplish other than giving people hope, giving people something to latch on to? Yes, we're fighting back, but what is it actually accomplishing? How is it actually fighting oligarchy other than just people feeling like, yeah, there's other people feeling the same despair as me, and listening to the best hits of Bernie AOC. Before we get into that, for those that haven't seen, let's show Colin whatever you cut parts of this tour.
So our job in the coming weeks and months is not just to take Trump on in every step of the way, but it's to do more. It's to have a vision for where our country should be going. As the wealthiest nation on earth, to begin, it's important to know that we are not going to make the changes we need so long as we continue to have a corrupt campaign finance system.
For working people so that they can steal from our health care and Social Security and veterans care to pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest and bailouts for their crypto billionaire friends. There's a word for this: corruption.
So that's just some of it. That's from the Las Vegas rally we covered. Tina Desiree Berg was there. We still have a few interviews we got to post from that. Also, Colin, if you have the clip, let's show, because I think it is relevant. There's a lot of normie, like Hillary Biden voting Dems coming out to these kind of things. I saw them when I covered the Tesla protest in New York. And I wouldn't say they're like 1,000% lefties feeling the burn, but something seems to be shifting where they're kind of finally realizing maybe the corporate Democratic establishment does not have their best interest at heart. If you have that clip with the resist shirt guy.
I'm furious. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. I have been a lifelong Democrat. I've been a Democrat since the 70s. Long time. And I am done with that. I am what you used to consider a moderate. And I'm still the same person. They changed. Schumer changed. Schumer, this resist means something. Resist. That's my attitude. Fight back. And Schumer, I'm done with. The only way it's recoverable is for us. I cannot count on my senators. The House stood up and did their thing. Senators aren't going to stand up for us. Cortez Masto didn't. I think it's left to us. I've given up on them as being an
okay. So I have two complaints before I get to Steve, who I'm pretty sure is going to say fuck them all. Number one, I actually think in the micro, not the big picture, but just the short term, I think it's a good thing. I mean, this is really shitty times. I mean, Trump, let's not do a false equivalence here. What Trump is doing, it makes the just dime a dozen corruption of the Democratic Party look like child's play. I mean, Trump is really, really, I think he's making Nixon look like a Boy Scout. But at the same time, people do need some hope. People do need some fight. So I don't have a problem with Bernie, AOC doing this little tour. I've got more of a problem with AOC, who I think is even more problematic. But I don't have a problem with this tour. I think it's good that you got thousands of people going out. I also think it's good that even the corporate media, we covered it yesterday, Steve. I mean, MSNBC is airing his rallies live. Some of them are saying, well, maybe Bernie and the progressives had a point. But the problem is, it's kind of like every protest we cover. What happens when everyone goes home? What is actually the call to action other than let's get together and roar and be angry? To me, if the goal of this, and I don't know what the goal is, because Bernie doesn't seem to be, I don't see a specific call to action. If the goal of this is to, whatever your phrase is, sheep herd people back into the Democratic Party, if the goal of this is to just galvanize people to run on the local level, that part I'm all for. But to me, this is an opening now to unite people economically to protest, not just to focus on beating Trump and Republicans electorally, because all that does is just return us back to normalcy. The Democratic Party right now is saying, rah, rah, thank you, Bernie and AOC, for going out there, but they're going to want to sheep herd these people back to Pete Buttigieg. They're going to want to sheep herd these people back to Gavin Newsom and whoever, Kamala, 2028 2.0. So to me, I'd like to hear I wish that Bernie was galvanizing these people to take economic actions, which we're going to get to. The Tesla takedown that's going on. Tesla's stock shares are in the shitter. Tesla's sales are in the shitter. We're not seeing that. So when the tour is over, which it's over now, what's actually being accomplished? So to me, exciting. It gave people hope. But what's it actually doing to tangibly regalvanize a movement? Your thoughts?
Well, if anybody is shocked that people are ready for change, they're a fool. I mean, every time Bernie said these things from 2015 till present, of course, people want change. They want these things that they're putting out there. Okay, yes, agreed. But when push comes to shove, and I'm going to go back to 2015, 2016, when Bernie was in the closed room with his delegates.
And can I just tell you something? Can I just tell you something, Steve?
Sure.
I saw a picture of you from 2015. You were like a GQ. You were like a GQ model back then.
I you know what? I used to be a decent looking guy. Now I'm an old fuck, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Anyway, so, but you know, all the delegates had gone into this room in Philadelphia, and we had somebody sneak through the door with a camera and was filming. And, you know, Bernie told all his delegates, hey, listen, you know, don't fight. We're not going to go and do a war on the floor, you know, for the nomination. You know, we're going to basically concede and fall in line. And thank God the delegates told Bernie, fuck you, basically. And they went ahead and they did a walkout. And you were there. You got to see that live and in person, right? We had people outside the building filming, people that were all part of the whole thing. At that moment, just so everybody knows my Bernie credentials, I did a live stream that night and I sobbed like a baby, and I looked like a fool crying about this guy, Bernie Sanders, who I placed all my hopes and dreams in, who I thought really was going to create a political revolution and follow through on that. And that was what galvanized independents, all the libertarians that had crossed lines and fallen for Bernie. And this is why you see a lot of burners showing up at Trump stuff, because they weren't really, you know, Democrats. They were just here for that message that Bernie was giving. So here they are, fancy that, breaking out the old hits, talking about oligarchy. But what Bernie's not telling you, and what is really frustrating at this point, and this is why, to me, this is a bunch of false hope, is because you already know people want this. You're not doing anything new. You haven't tapped into something, oh my God, that is so wild. Yes, Bernie, way to go. You figured out that the thing we've told you for a decade more, since Occupy even, yeah, we really want that thing, right? We really want an end to this thing. The problem is we don't have a democracy. We have what we call a bourgeois democracy. And you look at our U.S. Constitution, you look at all the founding documents, the Federalist Papers, all that other stuff, you know that it has always been about wealthy white landowners. It has always been about them, always. Like the laws are built for that. And since even in the writings, they talked about the people out of doors. Think about that. The people out of doors. You could think that's the slaves. They had another segment for slaves that were only, what, 3/4 of a human being, or through 2/5 or one, you know, some ridiculous thing, right? So when you think about it like that, and you sit there and you put your ideas that we have a democracy, Princeton in 2014 did an extensive study that showed public opinion, your ideas, your hopes, your dreams have zero impact on the laws and anything that governs our country. Zero. Not a little bit, not, it'd be nice. Zero. Princeton, mind you, not some scrub, you know, right-wing think tank that's, you know, Princeton. Okay. So once I don't flush that. I maintain that knowledge when I talk, right? I don't, okay, well, now Bernie and AOC are out there. I'm going to forget that. I'm going to put my hopes and dreams. No. So once you understand they're selling you electoral solutions once again, instead of talking about becoming ungovernable, once they start talking about taking on oligarchy, you cannot vote away the oligarchy. The oligarchy literally owns the system. It's in the U.S. Constitution. It's not some fantasy. I mean, this has always been built this way. So to me, anything that points people back to the electoral process to begin with, I think is fool's gold. But more importantly, you nailed it. This is going to be the next referendum for Gavin Newsom or Pete Buttigieg when time comes, or Kamala Part 2. They are not serious about change. They're serious about maintaining those people that have these ideas to think that somehow or another there's weird connections to the Democratic Party, but there are none. Okay, there are none. And so when you think about it like that, you think about what effort people are going to do. That guy, I'm a moderate, and yeah, I'm through with Schumer. Well, okay. And what is that going to get you? A bag of chips? A bowl of soup? A pat on the back? It's going to get you a big giant nothing burger. Okay. So for me, as I look at this, I've always been saying, people bellyache that the left, the edgelords, the left doesn't want to be part of this and all. No, the left has just graduated from believing in this. It's not that they're nihilists. It's not that they don't have hope. They have hope in different things. They have hope in the people rising up and taking back a country that is not ours to begin with. Everything about this nation, and the more you do your history, the more you get rid of the red, white, and blue, fibs we all believed forever. Most of it, including myself, we all believed it at some level, right? It's shedding those shackles of fake news, those shackles of propaganda that allow us to stay stuck in a system that has proven, and again, I'm going to refer back to Princeton study, has proven we have an oligarchy. We have zero, and this is before Trump, by the way. This is 2014. Who was president in 2014? I think that was Obama, right? So the more you think about this, we didn't have, think about the people did not vote for Obama to bail out the banks. He did not vote for the people to lose their homes. We did not vote for that, but that's what we got. Why? Because it served oligarchy. It served the elite. It served the banking community. It served Wall Street. It served everything but we the people. So every minute of everything that happened under Obama, the ACA, for God's sake, we can't get away from the ACA fast enough. But what did Joe Biden tell us all? I will veto Medicare for all if it's brought to my desk, right? He said that. Why? Because the ACA is him and Obama's legacy. And what is the ACA? The Heritage Foundation Mitt Romney plan that gave a handout to the insurance industry and kicked us all in the nuts and told us all to pound sand and got into the service denial business. Okay. So for me, anytime somebody comes to me with flowery ideas of the Democrats are better, they're going to do this. Okay. Even in cartoons, they have a villain and they have a good guy. Who cares? It's theater. They're there to keep us engaged in this process so we don't think outside the box. Because the minute we think outside the box, the minute we stop falling for the bullshit, is when we become really, truly dangerous to capital. We become dangerous to the oligarchy because we're no longer controlled by their puppeteers. They're people that they pay to get in front of us to manufacture consent for their ideas. The minute we stop that is the minute we are really dangerous. The more we fall back in line and we have platitude salads from Bernie and AOC, the more they know these people aren't a threat to me at all.
So I think we're mostly in agreement. I think I have a little more nuanced opinion, but I will also point out there are people and YouTube hosts with pretty big platforms. Notice that they're never happy with anything. I mean, we'll name names. Jimmy Dore, right? Burn the Democratic Party down. Only third party. Then Cornel West and Jill Stein run third party. He finds a way to shit on both of them. They're not good enough for him. Because they wouldn't let him advise their campaign or some shit, right? So you're never gonna, if you're a YouTube host you're not gonna please everyone. I've been called a Bernie bro by some, and some people don't like if they think I'm defending Bernie. And then when I criticize Bernie, they think I'm being unfair. So to hell with it. But what I think is most important right now, I think we're in a unique moment. Because I think two things. Let's first talk the electoral side and then outside electoral politics. Electorally, I do not think the solution for our massive systemic corruption in this country is electoral politics. Because the actual government, the actual politicians, which I've been saying for as long as this shows, Biden and Trump are not the ones actually making the full decisions, perhaps on foreign policy. But we're talking the economy, domestically. These are all puppets for the real bosses, the United Corporations of America, the donors. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, even if Bernie got in there as president, and I would have loved it, even if AOC one day became president, you're not having Medicare for all without a crazy fight. And you have all the capitalist courts to knock it down. So electorally, right now, to me, this is a moment in time when you have Republicans at Republican town halls screaming, tax the rich. Look at those crowds. These are rock-ribbed conservatives. Some of them look like they just, got off from listening to, who's the religious right guy? Pat, I forget his name.
Pat Buchanan?
Yeah. So some of them look like they just got out of a Joel Osteen concert. God bless you. Okay. They're screaming tax the rich. They're screaming hands off my Medicare, my Medicaid. Okay. Some of them, if you didn't have the title, you would think this is a Bernie crowd. Okay. And on the other end, you got Democrats, normie Dems screaming at the Democratic Party. It's calling them spineless, saying you're not fighting hard enough. You got Tim Walz, who is pretty popular in Minnesota, him saying, yeah, no, trimming around the edges with Obamacare ain't going to do it. The people are going to expect Medicare for all. So what better opportunity? And I know there are people who say, and Bernie shot it down, there's a lot of obstacles. Okay. But what better opportunity at a time when tens of thousands of people are coming out, not in an election year, to say we need an army of people to run as independents. Forget third party for a second. We just skip the primary. We need an army. We have seen that the Republican Party is not going to fight Trump, and we have seen that the Democratic Party is not going to fight fascism. Frankly, the Democratic Party has enabled this fascism. So we need an army of you in this crowd right now to run independent. And we need, as Americans, to get out of this two-party duopoly and have consider independent candidates. We could talk about third parties also, but to me, you'd get massive cheers at these crowds. Of course, the media would shit on it and the pundits would shit on it, but you have not had this kind of opportunity and this bipartisan contempt for both of their tribes. The Republicans are pissed at their tribe. They're not abandoning Trump yet, but they're certainly pissed at Musk, and I think soon it will be Trump once their Social Security check is delayed, once Medicare is tinkered with. And on the Democratic side, I saw it at the Tesla protests. A lot of these were Hillary people. A lot of these were Biden people that were out that I were interviewing. They're done. They're sick of the Democratic Party. So to me, I'm not against what Bernie is doing, but if there's no specific call to action and if there's no actual change of strategy, it is just hopeful theater, as you said. Now, one more thing. Sure. Now, secondly, what an amazing opportunity. I just want to go through this with you. Colin, Tesla, this is just today. Tesla sales fall by 49% in Europe as the electric vehicle market grows. This just came out today. Tesla sales cut in half due to these, say it with me, folks, economic protests. Steve and I have been beating this drum for 2 years that protests are nice, circling the same blocks over and over are nice with the same signs. But unless you're going to threaten the donors, unless you're going to threaten Musk, I'm not saying violently, I'm saying their profits, their sales. They don't care. Nothing's going to change. But this is the first time we have seen a mass action. And what are they doing? Tesla owners are selling back their cars. They're blocking entrances to Tesla. They're not being violent to customers, but, making it uncomfortable for people to go and buy Teslas. There has been more aggressive action, burning Teslas, this and that. But they are hurting the bottom line of Tesla. We could get into the implications and, these are American workers, yada, yada. But the point is, there is an economic protest going on that is cutting sales in abroad and here. Abroad is in half. Here has been significant. You also have, Tesla stock has tanked so hard that it's no longer Elon Musk's biggest asset. You should not have to live through that. So Tesla stock and sales has tanked so bad, it's no longer Elon Musk's biggest moneymaker. He might be a billionaire, but you better believe that hurts. So I'm making this point because we are having a case study, and if Bernie and AOC calls herself an organizer, she says, I have an organizing history, then you would be doing what I just said, galvanizing to people to run independent, and two, galvanizing people, let's make this bigger than Tesla. Who wants to stop purchasing at Amazon? Who wants to boycott Walmart? Who wants to switch from big corporate banks to smaller credit unions? And instead of donating to me, let's donate to a mutual aid pot. Let's $27 a pop for mutual aid to help the workers that might be affected at Tesla or the workers that might be affected at Amazon, Walmart. So to me, that is the tangible call to actions that Bernie and AOC could be doing, which they're not. Now, I'm not going to say burn it down. I'm not going to call them sellouts. If some of you don't like it, too bad. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I don't think Bernie's a sellout. AOC, I'm a little more dicey on. But to me, they're missing two major opportunities to capitalize on this paradigm shift. Forget third party for a second. You could very simply say, hey, midterms are next year. You could skip the primary, start running your independent campaign now, and let's start changing this whole game so that independents can compete. Look at Dan Osborne in Nebraska, who just ran as an independent and ran a damn good campaign and came close to defeating the entrenched Republican in Nebraska. He ran on Bernie populism. They're not doing that. So to me, I like the tour, but there's no there after. What am I missing?
I think the most important thing is, first of all, let me just say this for the record, because I know this will offend people. So let me just get it out of the way. I don't even believe in third parties anymore. I don't believe in running independent. I don't believe the electoral process is where it's at all. What you're showing with the Tesla move, the action on Tesla, is real action happening from the people that has nothing to do with the electoral process. Real people doing real things. Okay. The minute that it becomes Bernie or AOC, you got Bernie going, no, we're not going to do whatever. Right. He puts the clamps on whatever the hell it is. But when the people say, you know what, Bernie, how about you go fuck yourself? How about you go and do your thing? Have your cheers, have your rallies that produce nothing, and let other people really become ungovernable and show you what it looks like to actually make a difference, to actually not talk about making a difference, but actually make a difference, right? And so the economic boycotts and stuff like that are certainly one element of that. But you got to realize, and you said it, and I really appreciated that you brought up that whole donating to mutual aid. In order to have a general strike, which is something everybody brings up, right? And it's a good idea. It's a great idea. But general strikes don't just happen. General strikes have to be earned. You must earn a general strike. And that means you've got to mentally and monetarily and substantively and materially prepare, okay? Because what happens in any strike, pretend like you're just a lineman for the phone company and the whole linemen are going to go on strike, okay? If lineman number 5, 6, 7, and 8 don't have any savings, guess what linemen 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to do? They're going to cross the picket line. And they're going to go ahead and they're going to scab and they're going to work overtime and they're going to make it so that, hey, no big deal. I can work 90 hours a week. I'm making money hand over fist. And the people that are striking are out there freaking out and yelling at them, calling them scabs and whatnot. But the problem is they didn't earn the strike. They did not earn the strike because they did not prepare enough strike fund to enable every member of the union to walk out and stand on the line. If you don't prepare for a general strike, you're going to have most people will end up crossing the quote unquote picket line. Okay. And your strike is useless. And so now the people that were stern and straight are going to be called, oh, you're an extremist or whatever. Now they're going to take action on those people. Okay. To do these things correctly, you've got to have the resources and you got to plan for it. People hate planning. They like TikTok, right? They hate planning. They like TikTok, right? Anything that's more than a meme is too much for them. Okay. So when you understand the little gnat level of concentration that people are willing to give to these things for any kind of deep conversation about important stuff, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a select small group of people that can actually think at that level, and the rest are going to follow along or not follow along. And if they don't have the resources to stay with it, they're not going to. If it becomes uncomfortable, they're going to cross over. They're going to start buying from Amazon again. They'll do whatever it is that they're going to do because they have the attention of a gnat and because there wasn't preparation done. They weren't sold, they weren't brought into the fold, and they weren't showed this is for you. So I think that when you look at what Bernie and AOC are doing, it really is all roads lead to electoralism. To me, people are used to that. It's comfortable. Nothing will fundamentally change, because the system isn't going to allow it. There will be a parliamentarian waiting around the corner to stop Joe from passing the PRO Act. There'll be some other thing. You notice that didn't happen with Trump. Trump hasn't been in any way, shape, or form restrained by any form of bipartisanship. And, I don't even think the filibuster has come into play under Trump in any way, shape, or form, has it? I mean, no. At the end of the day, he's running roughshod. Why is that? And I'll tell you why it is. The Democrats play the polar opposite, the mirror image of Trump. They're all rules-based. We're going to follow the rules. You know, we want to make sure it's bipartisan. We want to do all this stuff. And we know it's not going to pass. But we can say it and we can look like the adults in the room by playing this game. And it doesn't pass. Everybody goes, what do you want, Trump? Trump is so much more corrupt than the Democrats. What do you want? They did the same thing Trump did, only different. They did the opposite. They enabled us to believe, and then they didn't do it. And they purposely didn't do it because they had the power to do it all along. Trump has proven that the unitary executive can make broad sweeping changes without any problem. Okay, always has been able to do that.
Well,
always has been able to do that.
If law was applicable, some of what he's doing is illegal. But yes,
that's the point. That's the whole point. Everything. There is always a piece of dental floss waiting to trip the Democrats. Okay. There's always a piece of dental floss laying there flaccidly waiting to trip up the Democrats. They play their role very well, and people lap it up like mother's milk. Oh my God. They fought. Did you see them fight for the ACA? They did such a magnificent job. Oh my God, they're fighting for Ukraine. We're going to stand with Ukraine. They don't ever think past that. And what happens? They flip it over. Now Trump, I'm going to be the peace president. What does he do? Literally everything that he did. The whole thing is a lie meant to do someone else's bidding. It has nothing to do with us. Okay. So for me, let me finish this point real quick. For me, the point is, it's not whether you run third party. It's not whether you run independent. The point is that the only effective actions that actually do anything are well thought out economic boycotts and becoming ungovernable, not sitting there falling in line and playing the electoral game. The electoral game nets you big giant goose eggs. And really, we keep shifting further to the right. Every time you feel like you've won, you've lost. I mean,
I think the mistake you and some I see in the chat are perhaps making, and I don't blame you, because if you're not pissed off, you're not paying attention, is I don't think it's nihilism, but I think too often people get in this zero-sum game where they think, no, the real solution is only this one thing. To hell with that other thing. I don't think one or the other is the answer. I think it's got to be both. I think, meaning electoral first, outside electoral politics. I think the problem, I think what you and I agree on, to me, it should be 60-40, 60 towards protest, boycott, organizing, because like we've said, you're not going to have a general strike overnight, and 40% electoral. And within that electoral blanket, listen, on YouTube, it ain't going to get you clicks to cover local politics. It ain't going to get you clicks to cover state races, right? The big thing on YouTube for covering politics is federal, the presidential election, high-level Senate races, the Washington horse race. But what actually will affect your life most directly is local politics. Is your local city council, is your local state senate, your local state house, to some degree, your congressmen, your senators who bring home the bacon for you, right? So we don't want to say electoral politics don't matter at all. I think it matters a lot, particularly on the local level, particularly on the state level. And of course, I mean, the federal politics do matter, but federal politics, we have the least amount of influences, as Steve had mentioned, the Princeton study. But to me, the answer isn't, no, we've all been screwed for the last decade. Democrats rigged it against Bernie twice. It's been the same Groundhog's Day in the Democratic Party forever. So let's totally not pay attention at all to electoral politics. I think that's a mistake, as very tempting as it is for all of us. I don't think you should ignore electoral politics, but people too often get seduced by electoral politics and forget what you and I have been talking about. It's only going to get you so far, because at the end of the day, we have a systemic rot, which is the capitalist system, that can't be changed just through electing Bernie or the squad or a third-party candidate, because the corrupt structure is still there. If Jill Stein were president, she might not be corrupt, but all those corrupt obstacles still exist. And she could pass things through executive order, and then courts could shoot them down. So the reality is, what did FDR say? Make me do it. Mm-hmm. You got to put fear in the politicians. I'm not condoning violence, but you have to threaten their power, and you need to threaten their benefactors, which is the donors. That's why I've been excited about this Tesla protest, and that's why I am not against what Bernie and AOC. I'm not against the tour itself. It's good to excite people. People need something to feel hopeful about. What I think is a massive waste of time and missed opportunity is just getting people out there for a rally with zero effective call to action after. There is no call to action other than let's fight Trump. Let's defeat Trump
2.0, buddy.
But here's the problem with that. Yes, when the house is on fire, you just got to you got to put the fire out. But the problem is, I don't think we could afford the whole back to normal 2.0 here. Remember, Biden won in 2020, barely, but he won based on let's just get back to normal. Let's just get rid of Trump, get back to normal, and we'll push him left. Well, that didn't happen. So the idea of let's stop the bleeding with Trump and his, I mean, this is much worse than his first term and all the things he's doing. We're about to get to some of them. The answer can't be let's get rid of Trump, get rid of, Doge, get rid of Musk, get rid of Hegseth, get rid of all these crazy people. I don't care who we put in. Let's just get rid of them and we'll figure it out. No, because you know what happens then? You get back to normal with another corporate Democrat. They then give you parliamentarian 2.0, 3.0. They then deliver crumbs. The wealth gap widens. AI starts replacing our jobs. The people get pissed off and fed up. And what do? They end up going to another fascist that maybe is a little less boisterous than Trump. That's going to be the continued cycle if we don't fundamentally change the paradigm. So I think, no, don't just totally erase electoral politics, particularly on the local and state level. But what Bernie, I just think he's too old and too set in his ways. The opportunity that is being missed, and I think also in some ways, frankly, I think there is cowardice sometimes in Bernie. I think he was willing to go up to a certain line, but never actually go past it to create an actual revolution. I don't hate him for it. Some people have limitations. He's great. He's great at inspiring. He's just not a revolutionist. He's not a revolutionary. I mean, that's just objectively true. But to me, major missed opportunity. You got tens of thousands of people coming out. God knows the attention you're getting on social media from the media. Forget the electoral part. God, they could be organizing people into economic strikes. I agree, it's not going to be a general strike, but they could be telling people in their community, target the companies preying on your local communities. Let's start creating local organizing hubs, not for the first day of the month strikes, which they've done against Amazon and others, but let's have tangible actions against the companies and tech bros that are overseeing those companies. That's not what's happening. Last thought before we move on.
Yeah, my last thought is that every one of the problems that are happening right now that you're seeing Doge ripping apart the government. You're seeing immigrants being castigated because they're stealing American jobs. You're seeing Trump raising tariffs to kind of try to bring the production back home. You're seeing Social Security being called a Ponzi scheme. All these things are based on economic lies. Every single fucking one of them is based on an economic lie. Bernie and AOC, both of them. I've got a picture of AOC holding up Bill Mitchell and Randy Ray's textbook on modern monetary theory. She sat there. I got a picture of her sitting at a bar in New York City with Stephanie Kelton, Pavlina Chernova, Andres Bernal, and a number of others. She knows inside and out that the things they're saying are lies and wrong, and she still says them. Okay? And you've got literally Bernie Sanders, who's chief economic advisor when he was the Senate Budgetary Committee chairman, and when he ran part one, and when he ran part two, and part of his Sanders Institute is Stephanie Kelton, and he still tells people we got to raise taxes on billionaires to keep Social Security alive. So this man may be getting everybody up in the arms, but he's lying to them in a big way, in a way that can't solve these problems, that keeps the very core principle alive that keeps us in Doge hell, because they can, and they know. If they didn't know, I wouldn't be angry. I'd be like, they just don't know. We got to teach them. They fucking know. Inside now, like sit down, long talks with Stephanie Kelton to hear this stuff. Larry Sanders understands it. Jane Sanders understands it. Bernie keeps going, we got to tax the billionaire class. Oh, it sounds good. It's great fucking fodder for a meme, but it's meaningless in the real world. The problem is that he keeps lying about this stuff, and the fucking fight is an economic one. They're using interest rates to get rich people more money. They're using these cuts to literally make people believe they're saving money, but what they're doing is they're creating a downward pressure on labor. We're going to have a massive amount of glut people fighting over a few jobs to once again drop labor costs down. Okay, this is all in the name of bringing production home to normalize us with the rest of the world. So what they've done is they particularly fucked us by playing into the lie, the very lie, the Ronald Reagan and the Margaret Thatcher lie of the taxpayer dollar, so that they can fuel Musk and his fucking stupidity. Guess what? Musk bumps his head into a wall and says, hey, there's 14 magic money computers here. I wonder what they do. They print money. Hey, this is how the government spends. They use these magic money printers. What the fuck, huh? Well, we've been telling you all along. All it is keystrokes. You're not printing money. Musk bumps his head and says, wait a minute, what's this? This is the problem. They know the truth and they keep the fucking lie alive. And these guys are running roughshod. And you know what? There's dumb MAGAs, the ones that are good people, but just dumb. The good ones that are dumb, the people that maybe would have been burners, but went over there because they're so sick of the shit lib version. Okay. Those guys over there thinking you're stealing their hard-earned tax dollars to pay for some DEI person, to pay for some, trans sexual reassignment surgery or whatever. And they've got it in their head that Musk is there to save their family's hard-earned money. And in their head, they think that they're doing right by their family doing this. You understand, as long as this lie persists, people that are trans, people that are minorities, people that fit the DEI, people like my son who are autistic will always be second-class citizens as long as somebody thinks it's their hard-earned tax dollar paying for their fucking success in life. Oh, well, you're making them dependent on the government. It's because idiots don't understand the government is the goddamn currency creator. It's the one that spends money into existence.
So, good segue. Let's get to the next topic because I think what you're talking about applies here. By the way, almost 600 people watching. So smash that like button. Share this live stream. Let's get it out to more people. I will shout out the super chats at the end of the show. And also welcome to new Status Coup members. We got a couple new members today, I believe. This is how we fund our on-the-ground reporting. Welcome new member Donald, Marwa, and Joy. And public service announcements, fingers crossed. I'm pretty close to making a decision on our next reporter. For those of you who don't know, I've interviewed 14 candidates to hire our first full-time reporter other than me. It's been taking up a lot of my time, a lot of good candidates. But all of this costs money. So to pay a reporter full-time, then we're going to post to hire a full-time producer. And we got some other things in the works too. We've been growing, which is allowing us to fund this, but we need to grow more if we're going to keep this going and be able to expand. Because tell you the truth, I've reached my limit and I need help. And so does Colin. So please, if you're new here and you value not just me and Steve together, but our on-the-ground reporting, over 100 ceasefire protests we've covered on the ground. Flint, East Palestine. We've been in Northern California recently covering the lithium battery fire that is sickening the masses. We were just out, covering the Tesla protest, the vets protest. Please, please, please. Money don't grow on trees. We're not getting funded by Elon Musk, the Koch brother that's left, or any of these fucks. Support us. StatusCoup.com/join. StatusCoup.com/join. All right. So, Steve, if you noticed, they are pretty much backdoor trying to privatize Social Security. This is a tweet from Jeff Stein of the Washington Post. Social Security in turmoil. Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month. Wonder what happens when you start laying off thousands of workers. Phone service, a mess following Musk-led cuts. Agency no longer has a system to monitor customer experience due to Doge. Major staff exodus. I'll read some of this. Headline, long waits, waves of calls, website crashes. Social Security is breaking down. The Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month because the servers were overloaded, blocking millions of retirees and disabled Americans from logging into their online accounts. In the field, office managers have resorted to answering phones in place of receptionists because so many employees have been pushed out. Amid all of this, the agency no longer has a system to monitor customer experience because that office was eliminated, and the phones keep ringing and ringing. Then you have, this is from Axios, leaked memo, Doge plots to cut Social Security phone support. So, hey, Granny, Grandpa, if you're watching, get ready for talking to chatbot or AI, not a human, if you could even get that. So, seems to me, Steve, pretty clear cut. Let's just fuck up this program as much as we can, get the masses so disgruntled, so desperate, and then, hey, maybe JP Morgan can help us with Social Security. Maybe McKinsey can run our U.S. McKinsey, the vulture capitalist consultants that Pete Buttigieg was with. Maybe, the private sector could do this better than us since we've fucking taken a chainsaw to it. And that is before they start cutting the benefits. And I promise you that's coming too, under waste, fraud, and abuse. This is, Citizen Kane. I mean, this is Citizen Kane, essentially. And by the way, this does not just apply. Social Security, yes, it's obviously majority seniors. Disabled people are on SSI. In some cases, poor people could get Social Security. Survivor benefits. So it's not just seniors. And without getting into, the young pay for the old in Social Security and all that, I think Steve and I both agree that's bullshit, which I'm sure you'll get to. The bottom line is Trump ran in 2016. I'm going to say something very unorthodox. I'm going to say something very, un-Republican. We're not touching Social Security. We're not touching Medicare. Actually, the government's going to provide health care for the people. That's what he said in interviews. He has said over and over, 2016, 2020, 2024, we're not touching Social Security. You think he doesn't know what Musk is doing? You think he's not giving this? He's not blessing this? I don't know the exact data, but I've been to enough Trump rallies. There's a whole shit ton of MAGA that's on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. This is the start of the AI/privatization apocalypse, folks. And it's going to hit MAGA. It's going to hit liberals, libertarians, and no labels. I also want to play for you the new Mitt Romney / Gordon Gekko. This is Howard Lutnick, our Commerce Secretary. Used to be the head honcho of Cantor Fitzgerald. He got a lot of praise because, a lot of their employees died tragically in 9/11 and how he, persevered to save Cantor Fitzgerald after so many of their employees died. But Cantor Fitzgerald, kind of known also as a dime a dozen corrupt Wall Street institution. But let's play what this billionaire had to say about if Social Security checks are delayed for a little bit.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
It's time for the glasses off. Yeah, you know why they're not going to call and complain, you rich fucking sociopath? Because they're probably getting evicted from their home. And they don't have a phone to call and complain on, you sick fuck. I mean, the chutzpah, as my grandma would say. And your mother-in-law probably wouldn't complain because you'd be able to provide the necessary funds if she missed a Social Security check or two or three or 100. These are the sociopaths running the government. And I'm not saying the Democrats are great. If you watch this channel, you know what I think of the Democratic Party. But Trump has hoodwinked an entire generation of old folks, of young white dudes wearing red hats at rallies, to think he's some type of champion of the working class when he has surrounded himself by fucking Gordon Gekko and all of his spawn. It is the biggest hoodwinking and psychops in American history. It is unbelievable that this guy has the gall to say that. Yes, they would complain. And you know, Steve, we did an economic Hunger Games reporting series. I interviewed a lot of elderly senior citizens. You know how many emails I get from people on SSDI, on Social Security, that are literally like, just have enough from that. If they miss the check, they would not be able to pay rent. If they miss the check, they cannot get groceries. They cannot afford to lose one paycheck. Just fucking vile. This is not just about politics. This is about humanity. This is about right or wrong. They are trying to slash the most popular program in American history, thanks to FDR. It's the one of the major good things a Democrat has done in the last century. So that, for what? So that we could cut waste, fraud, and abuse, or drain government in the bathtub? We have enough money to cover it all. Modern monetary theory, as Steve would tell you, the government prints money. It's just, I just can't, I can't get over it.
You want me to let me fill the gap here, because this is a really important subject. Okay. I'm going to first off take you to Europe momentarily. You'll see why I'm tying this together. Donald Trump has told Europe, you're on your own, basically. Okay. So what has Europe done? Europe, which has the euro, has said our normal 3% annual deficit limit is off. We don't have a limit anymore. Now, as long as you're spending on the military, you can spend as much as you want. Okay. So the EU has eliminated the 3% deficit ceiling for all of them to spend on military. Well, who are the big military contractors? Are they French? Are they German? Are they freaking Russian? No, they're in the US. They're Boeing, they're Halliburton, they're all these other companies. And what happens? Because the US has been doing all this stuff, those groups haven't had to spend on their military. They've largely kept it very low and in check. Well, Trump doing this isn't about somehow or another stopping America from being the world's police force. It's about, once again, freeing up markets for big business, including the military industrial complex, to sell goods and services into Europe that previously didn't need it and previously couldn't afford it. Now they've lifted the limit miraculously so that they can now do that. Now, let's flip over to Social Security for a minute. You think they're slashing and burning so they can save money. Man, that's the ruse. And that's what most people think they're doing. Even if they are wrong, they think that's what they're trying to do. What they're doing is, once again, just like in Europe, they're trying to remove the public element of this, because Wall Street can't win on Social Security if it's still a government-held thing, if you still believe they're paying into it. So by people paying into fucking Wall Street savings accounts, like Paul Ryan once said to Alan Greenspan years ago, this right here has been the plan. And it ain't just Republicans. Hillary Clinton wanted to do this. Joe Biden and Obama wanted to do this. Okay. Bill Clinton, all the way back, wanted to do this. This is not some new thing. This has always been flirted with forever. FDR, many moons ago, instituted FICA, which is the tax that, quote unquote, pays for Social Security. But all FICA is a spreadsheet. The trust fund is a spreadsheet. Like, you know, when you're tracking traffic in your neighborhood and they got that hose in the road, the tick, 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 the number of cars that go over it. That's all the trust fund is a tick, 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 the number of people that pay a tax into it. There's no money in the trust fund. Never has been a dollar in the trust fund. It's always new money, always. But because the law is written to give the trust fund authority to make payments, they hold this as the law. So Bernie's out there going, we got to tax the billionaire class to make Social Security solvent. And everybody else is going, oh my God, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. We've got to turn it over to Wall Street so people can really earn a good gain on their investment. So their investment is making them real money, not this pittance that they earn in Social Security. So all of a sudden, it's the FanDuel of retirement plans. It is literally gambling away seniors. But this has always been the desire. It has always been the plan. And the only way they can do that is to remove the public element of it, make it private, and sell it that they're doing us a favor by eliminating the Ponzi scheme. But this is because people literally, stupidly, worthlessly think that it's taxes that are paying for it. And because they won't let go of this lie, because they have never heard of it, Think I'm lying when I talk about it? Have never read the actual Social Security law, have never read a piece of history, so they wouldn't have a clue. They are sold on this stuff, and they will go along with this stuff, but it's really manufactured from oligarchy because the intent is to fatten the wallets of the rich and the Wall Street speculators to give them one more avenue to predate upon us. Just like in Europe right now, MIC is going to make big bucks because we pulled back, and now all of a sudden they're going to have to build their own huge jingoistic militaries. And you talk about death zone, you talk about real serious problems. You've never seen anything like what's coming.
I want to play the clip that gets you all hot and bothered, but it explains what you're talking about. This is, I guess he was
John
technically.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. Look at that.
Yeah. Let's play Alan Greenspan, the old dinosaur, former Federal Reserve chair, explaining how, like, technically taxes don't actually pay for federal government spending, and America can always create new money. Colin, if you have that.
So having personal retirement accounts is another way of making future retiree benefits more secure for their retirement. And also, do you believe that personal retirement accounts as a component to a system of solvency does help improve solvency? Because when you have a personal retirement account policy, it's accompanied with a benefit offset. With that feature in place, do you believe that personal retirement accounts can help us achieve solvency for the system and make those future retiree benefits more secure?
Well, I wouldn't say that the pay-as-you-go benefits are insecure in the sense that there's nothing to prevent the federal government from creating as much money as it wants and paying it to somebody. The question is, how do you set up a system which assures that the real assets are created which those benefits are employed to purchase? So it's not a question of security. It's a question of the structure of a financial system which assures that the real resources are created for retirement as distinct from the cash. The cash itself is nice to have, but it's got to be in the context of the real resources being created at the time.
Okay, sorry to the audience if you died twice watching that snail. But Steve, if you could break that down in English, I'm understanding it. Social Security, there isn't a solvency issue because the government just creates money. So we have enough money to pay out Social Security, infinity and beyond.
Well, there's a moron named John Rundon in the audience saying, you don't know what you're talking about. And, I love when people do that because it just shows how fucked we are as a society. Because people that heard Greenspan, heard me, could do the research on their own if they weren't like worthless. They would really look into it instead of saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. And they would find out that I actually really in spades know exactly what I'm talking about. And they would start fighting back against the things that are happening right now. What Alan Greenspan said is, hey, look, we can spend as much money. We could give retirees $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. There's no limit to what we could give them. However, is the real resources available for purchase, or will we run into a bunch of shortages? Would it drive prices up? Because one of the things that drive prices up and cause inflation are having excess spending available to us where there's demand for something, but there isn't enough of it. And so people are chasing after those things, and people, whether they have to or not is irrelevant. Whether it's a fact of God or not is another story. But what they do is they take those signals that, hey, you've got disposable income. We're going to go ahead and produce, or we're not going to produce. Look what is happening right now with the egg oligopoly. You got hen producers and you've got egg producers, and they're like the OPEC of eggs right here, right now. And they're purposely withholding production because they have these super hens they've created and they've got a patent on to create these special hens that lay super amounts of eggs. And they're saying to the small providers, if you do this, we're going to run you out of business. We'll put out a bunch of eggs. We'll drop the bottom out of the price. You'll lose. We'll put you out of business. All this stuff. This is exactly the kind of thing that happens in industry. If you don't know how business operates, they look at signals. They look at whether or not people have disposable income, and then they all chase after it. That's what you saw during the pandemic. Where these businesses were creating 1,000% profit, gouging in crisis and in these horrible situations. They're literally profiteering. So the issue is we don't pass laws that can stop them from profiteering. We don't put caps on profit gains. We don't do any kind of capital controls. We have no kind of meaningful regulation that stops them. And you've covered it over and over again with East Palestine. What regulation? Who cares? They're going to fucking do whatever they want to do. So ultimately, we are at the mercy of business. And because government doesn't cover for us, they cover for them. We're in this screwed position. So as you think about what Social Security is supposed to be a payment for somebody who either A, is old and retired and has worked all their life, because they do count what you worked. So that's how they calculate what you get. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be any of that. We could literally create a basic income for a whole set of people that we want using the Social Security system. Eliminate FICA altogether, because it is the most regressive tax of all time. Because who does it hit? It hits the poor. It hurts the working poor. It hurts those people that are lower middle class, middle class, upper middle class even. But what it does is it is a tax, a thing that pulls money away from people here and now that need it right now, that are missing teeth or all kinds of other things. They're literally putting off important decisions about their health, putting off decisions about their family, about their children, about everything, because they're paying all this money into FICA that doesn't need to be done. There's no need for it. The reason why FDR did that was because if you remember what happened in 1917, there was an awful lot of buzz around the world about socialists and communists taking over. So the anti-commie, the Red Scare shit was live and proud during FDR's time. So what he said was, hey, if I create this pay-in thing, it's not real, by the way, even if you like it, even if you're one of those people, oh, I love it, I paid into it. It's not real. They delete your money just like all taxes, because it is the currency issuer, okay? So every dollar that comes from, when you look at your Social Security check, it doesn't say Social Security Trust Fund. It says the Treasury. The Treasury writes those bills every single time. It's always new money. So what do you call it there? Greenspan was saying is, we can give you whatever check you want, but is the economy robust enough to absorb the spend that we're giving you, or does it just become inflationary?
So basically for dummies like me, what he's saying is there isn't a vault where all money that comes out of your paycheck to go towards Social Security and Medicare, there isn't a vault where money goes to be stored to give to seniors who are currently on Social Security. What he's saying is there is no actual trust fund for Social Security. It's just the government prints the money. And Ben Bernanke, the former Federal Reserve Chair, has said similar things. And the government issues the money, the currency, to cover all the costs. So essentially what you're paying into, it's not going towards paying for your actual government services. It's just a tax. Now, on the state and local level, that's different because they can't print their own currency. So what you pay for state taxes actually is going towards roads, garbage pickup, et cetera. We got to move on to the last topic, so hurry up.
Let me dump this real quick. This is super important because I know there's some chucklehead out there going, they're just printing money, right? Taxes literally remove money from the economy. Taxes delete money. They don't print money, but if you want to say printing money, which I hate, but if you want to say printing money, taxes unprint money, okay? So if your fetish is to say printing money, gang, remember that they're always unprinting money every time the federal government collects a tax, and that includes Social Security. Now, Jordan was right. At the state and local level, taxes are always recycled. But at the federal level, the currency issuing level, they don't need your coupon. It's like Sbarro's. Do you think Sbarro's keeps a fat stack of used 50-cent coupons? No. Neither does the federal government. It always spends new money into the economy and always prints it out.
Who the hell gets pizza at Sbarro's? That's disgusting.
Hey, man, I used to be a manager of Sbarro's, had to work with Lasanti. It was the mob, man.
Oh my God. Real quick before you go, I want to hit on this. So, Steve, obviously we have the deportation craze right now. Get rid of them. You got the ICE chief saying, did Lake and Riley have due process in response to whether supposed gang members should get due process before Trump rounded up 200 and sent them to whatever country he sent them. They've been rounding up legal American citizens wrongly. They've been detaining Native Americans for 8-9 hours without use of a phone or able to make a call. And people have said before, besides the morality of this, well, you're getting rid of a lot of workers that actual Americans don't want to do those jobs. The strawberry field workers, the farmers. I've talked to people in Northern California. Some of those farms are empty right now because workers are scared to come out and be rounded up by ICE. Well, Ron DeSantis, and I'm sure coming to a Republican area near you, they have a solution. Let's replace the immigrants we're deporting with 14-year-olds. Let's gut child labor laws so that, teenagers just getting puberty can work the overnight shift. This from the Tampa Bay Times. Child labor protections could soon be rolled back in Florida. Why? DeSantis said that a younger workforce could be part of the solution to replace, quote, dirt cheap migrant labor. Well, at least you're not high. At least you're saying it loud and proud. Teenagers as young as 14 could soon be allowed to work overnight shifts as part of an effort in the Republican-led legislature to roll back major aspects of the state's child labor laws. The proposal, which moved through the first Florida Senate committee Tuesday, comes as DeSantis says a younger workforce could be part of the solution to replace dirt cheap labor. Quote, why do we need to import foreigners, even import them illegally when, teenagers used to work at these resorts? College students should be able to do this stuff, DeSantis said last week during a panel discussion with Trump's border czar. The governor said the state has taken several steps to crack down on hiring workers living in the country illegally, including enacting a state law that requires large companies to screen workers through E-Verify. Quote, yes, we had people that left because of those rules, but you've also been able to hire other people. And what's wrong with expecting our young people to be working part-time now? I mean, that's how it used to be when I was growing up. The governor's remarks are coloring the debate in Tallahassee as state lawmakers consider removing all limitations on how late and how much 16 and 17-year-olds can work and ending those teenage workers' guarantee of a meal break. I'll read this tweet. This is from Thomas Kennedy. We have been warning about this for years, and now DeSantis is admitting that the worker shortages they worsened with anti-immigrant laws need to be alleviated by putting teenagers to work through the gutting of child labor protection standards. Just wow. I don't know, Steve. We had children die during the Industrial Revolution working on the factory floors with no safety protocols, no expertise in the jobs they were doing. I guess their answer to deporting the illegals, hey, have the kids go in, they could do the midnight shift at the factory. Then they could go to school when they get off, they could go to school at 8 a.m. We'll give them an hour nap after school, and then they could go back. This is not, by the way, he's saying, they're not only talking about, a relatively easy job at a resort. They're talking about manual labor for 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds on top of school, which, by the way, no offense if you're living in Florida, the school system isn't exactly stellar, and student standards and performance is not so good either. I mean, they're literally saying they're on one end creating a false other to stir up white grievance, so blame the immigrants. And then when oh shit, we don't have workers to do the dirt labor, let's just have 13 and 14-year-olds do it. Absolutely vile.
Yeah. I mean, let me give you a mirror image of this, right? The United States, as a currency issuing nation, creates a federal job guarantee that pays a living wage and provides federal living benefits for anyone that qualifies for the program, which is anybody that is of working age, right? So all of a sudden, all these immigrants have a federal job guarantee job. Maybe they're out there working in communities. Maybe they're doing something else. Or maybe those people that have been placed out of work or can't find work in the job guarantee. And now the economy is robust. Crime is way down because everybody has money. Everybody is living their best life. Everybody has health care covered through their federal benefits, you name it. And wow, what a different world that would be, right? But instead, they decided that as part of this Make America Great Again, it is blocking and tariffing, which is a tax on the poor, by the way. They're blocking and tackling with their tariffs to create this, bring the manufacturing back home so that the outside world isn't producing for us anymore, which is pretty stupid because no matter how you slice it, trade has always been part, even going back to the ancient days. There's always been trade between countries, trade between neighboring people, between tribes, between whatever. So this idea that we're going to bring manufacturing back and we're going to kick out all the immigrants and we're going to put the teenagers to work to fill the gap is fucking stupid. But it takes a stupid moron that doesn't understand the fucking economic system to think this way. They're trying to literally create this grievance society because the goal here is to bring manufacturing back, to bring the jobs back, the jobs that nobody fucking wants to do back. Okay. Now, to be fair, we have been predating and living off the slave labor around the world, the indentured servitude of the global South, using the IMF through structural adjustments to put these fucking countries in deep in debt. Listen to Michael Hudson about this. Listen to Jason Hickel. Listen to Fadl Kaboub. There's tons of people out there that can talk directly to. Ben Norton's great on covering the international component here. If you don't put this stuff always into the way you process information, you're likely to get lost in the sauce. This is the unnatural or unfortunate fallout of nationalism, of trying to rid yourself of people that are coming here because you bombed the shit out of the rest of the world. You screwed them up with CIA coups. You fucked their own country up, and they're coming here to try and survive. And now all of a sudden, those same parasites that supported these fucking militaristic moves around the world, okay, are the same people that don't want those people to survive. The same people that are probably giddy about watching kids die in Gaza are the same people that are probably giddy about watching this happen too. But it all comes from a shitty, faulty understanding of where money comes from. And it's not your hard-earned fucking tax dollar paying for some fucking Latino guy to work here in the States. He's paying taxes, and all those taxes are doing is being deleted. They're not funding anything, nor are your taxes funding anything. They're literally a means of keeping the dollar king. And this is right now, you're watching the rise of the BRICS, and people are getting overexcited about this, unfortunately. I wish I could be super excited about it, but I know more about it. The fact is the BRICS, the China, the Brazil, all the other companies, India, you name it, they're trying to get away from dollar control. They're not going to ditch the dollar. You can't ditch the dollar if you do any business with the U.S. If you do business with the U.S., you're going to deal with the dollar. But they're trying to break away from that. And Trump and the gang, I guess part of the oligarch move, is saying, okay, we'll let them break away from that. We're going to bring the manufacturing back home. There's probably some good to that. Not all good, but some good. But because they're demonizing immigrants, because this is what bad people do, and I mean really terrifically horrible people, okay, are sitting there putting the onus, creating the bad guy, creating scapegoats like they did in Nazi Germany. This is 100% the same tactic of all things. This is what Mussolini did. This is what fascism always does. It finds a scapegoat, it points to them and say, you're the problem, you're the reason, Juden, or whatever. They always find a way to blame someone. And in this case, it's going to come back to bite us. And you're watching Death Santis down there pumping up the, hey, maybe kids can do coal mines eventually, right? There's old pictures of the kids with a pipe and working in the factory and getting sliced up by machines that they're not equipped to handle. I mean, it's not a glowing, sign off, if you will. There's no kind of, it's just bullshit. But, when you don't understand economics, this stuff sounds okay if you're not thinking the way you should be thinking. If you think it's coming from your hard-earned tax dollars and you're paying for foreigners, man, them damn foreigners, right? We got to get them out of here. If you thinking that your tax dollars are going to them damn trans people, you're going to end up scapegoating them. And as long as idiots keep that taxpayer dollar myth alive, the worst, the poorest, the most vulnerable will always be destroyed by your ignorance.
All I know is there was a time when we just said, let kids be kids, but not when the capitalists need labor. And they're deporting their cheap labor, who, by the way, we should say undocumented immigrants should be paid more too. That's what I believe. I don't think anyone is illegal. I don't believe in that term. But essentially, for the culture war that they created, for an emergency that was never an emergency, I'm sorry, we don't have a illegal invasion. We never did. They're just saying, okay, we won on a culture war, but oh shit, we got a shortage of workers. So, hey, PD over there, put down your homework. We need to bring you to the coal mine. This is going to spread. beyond Florida, I would expect, hey, now we don't even have a Department of Education because Trump's gutting that and canceling it. So maybe RFK will run it. Make America healthy again by giving children a little bit more responsibility.
Don't forget, he thought Palestinians are the most pampered people in the history of the world, right? Fucking
absolutely.
Idiot.
Steve, tell the masses where they can find your great work.
Yes, definitely check us out on Substack. Check us out on YouTube, Real Progressives and Real Progress in Action. You can come to our website, which is realprogressives.org. We are a 501c3, so your donations over there will be helpful, please. They're tax deductible. You can also catch us tonight, Tuesday nights, at Macro and Chill, which is a webinar where we talk about this stuff, and people ask questions. If you don't know, you're not an idiot. We'll teach you. We'll work with you. So please do come to Macro and Chill. You can find that on our Substack. You can find that on our website. And also, every Saturday morning, we put out the podcast Macro and Cheese. Really phenomenal guests and really deep dives. I've been doing this for about 15 years. So between my MBA and unlearning everything I learned there and working with all these experts for the last decade, you can find a lot of great information there. So please do check it out. Worth your time. And Jordan, as always, thank you for giving me the vine to be a part of this. I love being part of the Coup community. Really big time. Love it.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Have a good one. Before I go, let me give some shout outs, super chats, and a couple public service announcements. So don't go anywhere. Angie Pangie, Status Coup member for 1 month. I'm obsessed with AOC. Okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I don't hate AOC, but I think she's kind of been a fair weather progressive, ran on, we're going to bring the ruckus to the Democratic Party. At first she did. She held that big rally outside Pelosi's office with the climate change kids. But then she kind of shifted to working inside the party. Then she wouldn't endorse Nina Turner. Remember that? Until the day before the election. Then she started giving some of her money that was coming in from grassroots money and sending that to corporate Democrat candidates. So she hasn't been perfect by any means. And I think her strategy of working within the party has had very little results. I'm not canceling her, but I'm just going to keep it real. Teresa, $20 in the super chat. Steve, can you explain the argument about balance of payments in MMT? We will send that to Steve. Maybe he can answer you next time. Denise, $10 in the chat. No more status quo. We need a status coup. That's exactly why we named it Status Coup. Thank you for your support. Cyber Hobbit, $10. Setting it straight, Steve. Thank you. Official People's Party, super chat, $2. I think you should hire Zaina as a full-timer. Support us. Can only hire people full-time if we have the money. We don't have the money to hire massive amounts of workers. It's taken us a long time to get to the point where we could hire a new reporter full-time. When we could potentially hire a full-time producer, when we could, increase Colin, which we recently did. Colin's been with us from the beginning. We got to pay John Farina, our cameraman. We got to pay other freelancers like Tina, who just covered the Bernie rally in Vegas for us. We got to pay other freelance cameraman. We got to pay for our live view, which is the broadcasting unit we use to go live. It's a lot of costs that you might not know about. So that's why we ask people, and I'm not beyond begging. I will beg the people. I will not beg the plutocrats. Fund us. StatusCoup.com/join. Help us expand. It's $5 a month is 16 cents a day, by the way. Cyber Hobbit, $10. Setting it straight, Jordan. Thank you. Amanda became a Status Coup member on YouTube. Thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it. Phil became a Status Coup member on YouTube. Thank you. Dwayne, $10. MAGA cultist voted for Trump because he lied and said he'd protect Social Security and get us out of the wars. He lied. We need to get them out of their cult. Well, if you know anything about cults, once you are in the cult, it is very hard to unwind that brainwashing. But I think a lot of MAGA folks might start thinking differently if their Social Security check gets delayed. If Medicare benefits or Medicaid benefits start getting cut, I don't think they're going to except that that's just waste, fraud, and abuse. If egg prices keep going up, if gas prices start going up, as we, I think, illegally bomb Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen. So we will see. We will see. And once again, please, if you're watching, we are one of the only independent outlets out there on the ground consistently. Just in the last 3 weeks, we covered Tesla protests on the ground. We covered a massive veterans protest in D.C. We covered a massive protest against Trump and Doge in New York City that had thousands of people out there. John has been covering the ceasefire pro-Palestinian protests for us for a year and a half. He's covered over 100 protests. We've been in Northern California recently covering the aftermath of that massive lithium battery plant fire. We were just in Las Vegas covering the Bernie Fight Oligarchy rally. All of this costs a lot of money. Do you see any other independent outlets consistently out there on the ground? It takes a lot of resources. We have done this the right way, building up from the ground in 7 years now. We went from 0 to now about, Colin, what are we at now? Like 2,500 paying members? You're muted.
Yes, I think it was just under 25 we're at now.
Yes, so we're at 2,500 paying members, and it took a lot to get to there. And we've been hidden on YouTube, but we got to get that up. We got to get to 3,000 and then 5,000, because the more paying members we have, the less reliant we have to be on YouTube, and the more we could just focus on our on-the-ground reporting. We have to grow so that we can hire more reporters. To hire a reporter and pay them a good wage, which we're progressive, so we want to, you need about 65 to 75 grand a year, plus health insurance, which adds producer. You need about, $50 to $60,000 a year, plus health insurance. Just the live view costs. We just paid a bill for live view. We're paying for our live view just for the data to go live. It's about $6,000 a year. Just the basic plan. If we go over our data in any given trip or month, we got to pay extra fees. That's just the data. Then you got to pay extra for the server to use the live view. There's so many costs associated with actual living, breathing, independent on-the-ground reporting. And frankly, as much as I love other channels, they don't have those costs because they are in a studio. They are in a studio. I mean, that's just the truth. They don't have the travel costs. When we Tina, for example, just on the ground now, between her paying her cameraman that went with her to Vegas, their hotel, 2 rooms at the hotel, travel to the rally from Los Angeles to Vegas, paying for their food, you're talking about $2,500 just for them to go cover a rally. So this is expensive stuff, but it's important stuff. So if you don't have the money to support us, that's okay. If you don't even have an extra $5 a month, I don't want to make your situation any worse. Just like, share, comment. But if you do have $5 to $10 a month, you can become a member at $5 a month. You can become a member at $10 a month, $20 a month. It's not going for me to become a billionaire. That ain't happening. Or for me to become a millionaire. Ain't happening. It's going so we can actually produce living, breathing, independent justice journalism. $5 at a time. Thank you for watching. Check out my video from earlier today on the latest bombshell report in the Luigi Mangione case. That video is up. His attorney just filed a new motion alleging that the prosecution has been delaying handing over evidence to them for months. And later tonight, we're probably going to release another new video from Tina's on-the-ground reporting in Las Vegas covering the Bernie Fight Oligarchy rally. Have a good night.